The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. Chapter 8. The Deadly Poppy Field. The little group woke up the next morning. They felt fresh and full of hope. Dorothy ate like a princess. She ate peaches and plums from the trees by the river. Behind them was the dark forest. They had passed through it safely, even though it was hard. In front of them was a lovely, sunny land. It seemed to call them toward the Emerald City. The raft was almost finished. After the Tin Woodman cut a few more logs, he joined them with wooden pins. Then they were ready to go. Dorothy sat in the middle of the raft and held Toto in her arms. They had long poles in their hands. They used the poles to push the raft through the water. At first, they moved well. But when they reached the middle of the river, the fast current pushed the raft downstream, farther and farther from the yellow brick road. The water was so deep that the long poles could not touch the bottom. "This is bad," said the Tin Woodman. "If we can't get to land, the river will carry us into the Wicked Witch of the West's country. She will use magic on us and make us her slaves. Then I won't get a brain," said the Scarecrow. "And I won't get courage," said the Cowardly Lion. "And I won't get a heart," said the Tin Woodman. "And I'll never get back to Kansas," said Dorothy. "We must get to the Emerald City if we can," the Scarecrow said. He pushed so hard on his long pole that it stuck in the mud at the bottom of the river. Then, before he could pull the pole out or even let go, the raft was carried away by the current. The poor Scarecrow was left holding onto the pole in the middle of the river. "Goodbye," he called after them. They were very sorry to leave him. The Tin Woodman even began to cry. But he remembered he might rust, so he dried his tears on Dorothy's apron.
Oh my God!
This was bad for the Scarecrow. "I am worse off than when I first met Dorothy," he thought. "Then I was on a pole in a cornfield. At least I could pretend to scare crows. But a scarecrow on a pole in the middle of a river is no use. I am afraid I will never get a brain after all." The raft floated down the stream, and the poor Scarecrow was left far behind. Then the Lion said, "We must do something to save us," he said. "I think I can swim to the shore and pull the raft. Please hold tight to the tip of my tail." He jumped into the water. The Tin Woodman held tight to his tail. Then the Lion swam as hard as he could toward the shore. It was hard work, even though he was big. After a while, they moved out of the current. Then Dorothy took the Tin Woodman's long pole and helped push the raft to land. "We need to get back to the road somehow," said Dorothy. "The best plan is to walk along the riverbank until we find the road again," said the Lion.
We need to save him.
After they rested, Dorothy picked up her basket. They followed the grassy bank back toward the road the river had carried them away from. They walked as fast as they could. After a while, the Tin Woodman shouted, "Look!" They looked at the river and saw the Scarecrow on his pole in the middle of the water. He looked very lonely and sad. "What can we do to save him?" asked Dorothy. The Lion and the Tin Woodman shook their heads. They did not know. So they sat on the bank and looked sadly at the Scarecrow. Then a stork flew by. It saw them and stopped to rest at the water's edge. "Who are you, and where are you going?" asked the stork. "I am Dorothy," said the girl. "These are my friends, the Tin Woodman and the Cowardly Lion. We are going to the Emerald City." "This isn't the road," said the stork. She twisted her long neck and looked closely at the strange group. "I know," said Dorothy. "But we lost the Scarecrow and we're wondering how we can get him back." "Where is he?" asked the stork. "Over there in the river," the little girl answered. "If he wasn't so big and heavy, I would get him for you," said the stork. "He isn't heavy at all," Dorothy said eagerly. "He's stuffed with straw. If you bring him back to us, we will thank you very, very much." "I'll try," said the stork. "But if he is too heavy to carry, I will have to drop him back in the river." The big bird flew up into the air and over the water to the Scarecrow on his pole. Then the stork used her big claws to grab the Scarecrow by the arm. She lifted him into the air and carried him back to the bank, where Dorothy, the lion, the Tin Woodman, and Toto were sitting. When the Scarecrow was back with his friends, he felt very happy. He hugged everyone, even the lion and Toto. "That's all right," said the stork, flying beside them. "I like to help anyone in trouble. But I must go now. My babies are waiting in the nest. I hope you find the Emerald City and that Oz helps you." "Thank you," said Dorothy. The kind stork flew up into the air and soon was out of sight. They walked and listened to the brightly colored birds singing, and they looked at the lovely flowers. There were big yellow, white, blue, and purple flowers, and there were also many scarlet poppies. The poppies were so bright that they almost hurt Dorothy's eyes. "Aren't they beautiful?" the girl asked, as she breathed in the spicy smell of the bright flowers. "I guess so," said the Scarecrow. "When I have a brain, I think I will like them more. If I had a heart, I would love them," said the Tin Woodman. "I always liked flowers," said the lion. "They look so weak and soft. But there are no flowers in the forest as bright as these." They saw more and more big red poppies and fewer of the other flowers. People know that when many poppies grow together, their smell is so strong that anyone who breathes it falls asleep. As they walked, the big red poppies became many, and the other flowers became few. When there are a lot of these poppies, their strong smell makes anyone who breathes it go to sleep. But Dorothy didn't know this, and she couldn't get away from the bright red flowers all around her. Soon her eyes felt heavy, and she felt she had to sit down to rest and sleep. Dorothy didn't know that, and she couldn't escape the bright red flowers nearby. After a short time, her eyes grew heavy, and she wanted to sit down and sleep. But the Tin Woodman didn't let her do that. "We must hurry and get back to the yellow brick road before dark," he said. The Scarecrow agreed. So they kept walking until Dorothy couldn't go any farther. Her eyes closed by themselves. She forgot where she was and fell into the poppies, fast asleep. "What shall we do?" asked the Tin Woodman. "If we leave her here, she will die," said the Lion. "The flower smell is making us weak. I can hardly keep my eyes open, and the dog is already asleep." It was true. Toto had fallen down beside his little mistress. But the Scarecrow and the Tin Woodman were not made of flesh, so the smell did not bother them. "Run fast," the Scarecrow said to the Lion. "Get out of this deadly flower bed as soon as you can. We will carry the little girl, but if you fall asleep, you are too big for us to carry." The Lion woke himself up and ran forward as fast as he could. In a moment he was out of sight.
Run fast!
"Let's make a chair with our hands and carry her," said the Scarecrow. They picked up Toto and put him on Dorothy's lap. Then they made a seat with their hands and arms and carried the sleeping girl between them through the flowers. They walked on and on. It felt like the deadly red flowers around them would never end. They followed the river's bend and finally found their friend, the Lion. He was fast asleep in the poppies. The flowers were too strong for him. He gave up and fell asleep just a little way from the end of the poppy field, where soft green grass began. "We can't do anything for him," said the Tin Woodman sadly. "He's much too heavy to lift. We have to leave him here to sleep forever. Maybe he will dream that he finally found courage." "I'm sorry," said the Scarecrow. The Lion was a very good friend, even though he was cowardly. "But let's keep going."
You've been such a good friend!
They carried the sleeping girl to a pretty place by the river. It was far from the poppy field. She would not breathe the flower's poison any more. There, they laid her gently on the soft grass and waited for a fresh breeze to wake her up.